Light and peace, brothers and sisters. Light and peace, brothers and sisters. Topic of discussion today is many religions with one God. Um, when you look at all types of religion that the society is following today, they believe that this religion has one God, but it came from different societies, but they're all worshiping one God. That's not true because if that's the case, then if I'm worshiping God in Africa, then God should give me one doctrine. And that same doctrine or that same belief system should coincide or should be the same thing in America, Asia, Europe, and any other continent. But society believes this is the concept. So I'm just going to go to the OAPSI for a minute and show what OAPSI explains. Um, for those of you who don't know, because I've been watching Saneta's TV lately, just, looking in, seeing what they're talking about. Um, One amazing thing that I noticed is that they seem not to understand what OAPSI is. Some say it's a spiritual book. Some say, the book was uh, documented by uh, a man, you know, that they don't believe in. So, OAPSI, in nutshell, is what goes on in our world, what goes in the spirit world, which is heaven, right? And what goes on in your spirit. So OAPSI is the best way to describe OAPSI is that one a womb. So we're inside uh, a circular womb, and OAPSI is the conclusion of everything. OAPSI, you see heaven. With OAPSI, you see heaven. With OAPSI, you see the sky, you see the spirit, you communicate with spirit. Um, that's basically what OAPSI is. And no matter where you go, any type of country you go to, you will see you will always face OAPSI because it involves heaven. It also involves activity in our world. So OAPSI is a conclusion or summary of everything that has happened from the past, present, and what to happen in the future, including in heaven. Okay. So that's what OAPSI really is. Some people say it's a spiritual book. That's up to you. It's a historical book. That's true. If it says a spiritual book, it is true. If it says an historical book, it is true. If it says there's a story about heaven, it's true. If it says it talks story about parts of continents of what happened to certain people, it's true. So APSI is a conclusion of everything, a summary of what will happen in this world and the next world, and what happens to you as a spirit or a human. Okay, so I'm going to go to a topic of discussion today: many religions with one God, and let's see what will actually say. I just wanted to draw some keynotes out and some points out just to drive out and teach the young ones, the adults, who want to learn from OAPSI, who are open-minded. Currently, religion continues to deny salvation to the people, so they continue to magnify and increase the bondage that awaits them. Christianity and the revised, upgraded version of Christianity, which we know as Islam today, have the highest amount of harvest on earth and in lower heaven. So, in a nutshell, if your religion does not teach resurrection about first, second, and third heaven, including mentioning nothing about eternal heaven, the such religion will offer you slavery in heaven, and which is true. I did a video about slavery in heaven. So if you not watch my video about slavery in heaven, I encourage you to watch that. And my video clearly shows you and talks about slavery in heaven, and I use OahspeC as a vocal point to drive my point. Um, so in the book of Extra, chapter 17, verse 9, how can they remain united people? You see that? The gods of one city and one temple teach one doctrine. And when you look at our world today, you see that every time. The worst right now is the Hebrew community, right? They call themselves the Hebrew Israelite, the Hebrew Christians. And the thing about it is that they don't even know the meaning of Hebrew. And then the second thing is they do not even know the meaning of Israelite, you know? So when you look at this Hebrew Christians, the Hebrew Israelite, the Christians, everything, they teach one thing, they teach one doctrine, and then go to another doctrine, they teach another doctrine. So they have multiple doctrines, right? So this verse, the book of Extra, chapter 17, verse 9, is saying, how can they remain a united people? The gods of one city and temple teach one doctrine, and the gods of another place teach another doctrine. So you're never going to be united. And OahspeC comes by clearing this confusion up, saying, hey, the God of the Old Testament is just not one God. They wouldn't listen. The Christians don't want to listen. The Hebrew Israelites don't want to listen. None of them want to listen to what OahspeC teachers have to say. You see? Now, and OahspeC is driving a point here in the book of Exodus, chapter 17, verse 9, saying, how can they remain a united people? The gods of one city and temple teach one doctrine, and the gods of another place teach another doctrine. You see? And in the next verse, the book of Judgment, chapter 2, verse 27 to 28. And look at this. Nor shall the Brahmin, Mohammedans, which is the Islam, Buddhists, and Christians join the second resurrection on earth or in heaven. You see that? That's clearly telling you that if you follow the Christian religion, and the mark point right now for the Christians will be the Hebrew Israelites will fall under the category of the Christians because they still believe in this New Testament that was compiled by King James Version. So OahspeC is telling you in verse 27 here that you or the followers, or you Christians, will not, you see that, enter second resurrection on earth or in heaven. Verse 28. For they do not have the doctrine of unity. They are as a house divided against itself. Their colonies and communities shall fail in all cases. And this is the truth. Look around all these Christians. None of them have one doctrine. Look at Christianity today and Islam. Not one doctrine. No unity, nothing. So how can they remain one person? They're never gonna be. It will never surface in our world nor in heaven. Now you can imagine the amount of doctrines we have today, belief system, just under the umbrella of Christianity. Probably 20, 40, 50. On the average, I'm gonna say 100. And look at you're gonna see the result, and this is the result. As a man lives on earth, acquiring perfection or imperfection in spirit, so will he enter the eastward, which is heaven at death. So if you follow a doctrine with imperfection, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to die and follow that same doctrine in heaven. This is what this verse is clearly saying. Whatever perfection and imperfection that you have while on earth, while alive, you're going to follow that imperfection, and that perfection is going to follow you to heaven with it. So there's no escape route. Book of Exodus chapter 30 verse 13 says, for the spirits of the lower heaven, like mortals, have multitudes of doctrine. You see that? So you die in our world with all these multiple doctrines that your pastors have given you, your Hebrew Israelites leader, Hebrew Israelites elders, your Christian preacher, all these so-called leaders of Christians, churchgoers, church followers, church preachers. They've given you multitudes of doctrines while on earth. Guess what? Book of Ezra, chapter 30, verse 13, is saying that this same doctrine also exists in heaven. Because remember, think about it for a minute. You die in our world in the year 2022. Before you died, you say you were a Baptist. So you're going to go to heaven believing to be a Baptist. And for the most part, they know nothing of high heaven. You know nothing about high heaven while on earth. So when you get drafted to heaven, it's going to be the same thing. So how could it be one God? If it's one God, then that God should have taught you one doctrine. And then if you travel from one city to the other, a perfect example, a Baptist in New York, if you travel to the state of Texas or Atlanta, it's different doctrine. And you claim to be Baptist, you claim to be a Buddha Christian, you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite. The Hebrew Israelite in New York City on 125th Street, way different than the Hebrew Israelites in Long Island in New York. And when those Hebrew Israelites go to Atlanta, they disagree because they do not have the same doctrine. So it cannot be one God. Okay? Never will it be one God. And here is the result of all this stuff that we follow. First of all, in the book of Judges, chapter 26, verse 9 to 10, after death, these people are prevented by their Judean masters. Who are your Judean masters? The Christian God, the Buddha God, the Hindu God, the Islamic God, and any other petty gods, any other God that have set up a religion for you to follow. And some people might not believe this. That includes the Ifa religion, that includes the Santeria, that includes your so-called Yoruba religion that people follow, the Jewish religion, you know. So the Kenyans religion, whatever religion you follow that does not profess resurrection, that does not talk about resurrection, that does not talk about first, second heaven, and third heaven, and does not even teach about bride and bridegroom in third resurrection, that means you have a Judean master. And your Judean master is that God. So in this verse is saying after that, these people are prevented by the Judean masters from entering heaven places of resurrection, becoming instead slaves in the East world to pursue any calling and practice that may be put upon them. So let me give you an example. So you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sin, right? So obviously you take that with you, and then you get to heaven, you're gonna find out that Jesus Christ don't exist, or if he did exist, it's a fake Jesus Christ, right? So these angels are gonna put upon your soul when you heaven, saying, hey, I'll take you to one heaven, they'll make you slaves, you know. And then in verse 10 it says, for the same rule holds on earth and in heaven regarding the bondage of the mind. If by imposing rites and ceremony and by stratagem and cunning of mortal priests, they can be captured on earth, so can they be retained in bondage in heaven. This is very easy to understand. So it cannot be many religions. And if it is many religions, it's not one God. It's simple. Okay? Very easy to understand. So right now, you have a bondage of mind. Why? Because what you're doing is that you're following this Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 theory that does not apply to what you call logical sense today, or even science. Funny enough, the God in chapter 1 in Genesis chapter 1, you know, he claimed that he had created the heaven and earth in, according to him, 6 days. So you as a Christian, you Hebrew Israelites, you believe in that, right? So you take that with you. So verse 10 is saying, for the same rule holds on earth and in heaven regarding the bondage of the mind, if by imposing rites and ceremony. So that right there, imposing rites and ceremony by stratagem. What is the stratagem? The strategy is here that God created the heaven and earth in 6 days. You still believe in that. So that's a bondage of the mind. And since you're captured right now on earth, You also going to be retained or captive in heaven. Right there. Case closed. No sugarcoating. This is your result. So, brothers and sisters, I just wanted to put up this video about, the so-called many religions have been, silently and viewing Sanata TV. I keep on seeing all these Hebrew Israelites arguing, and um, the truth is posed to them. They just are not listening. You got the Baptist Christians, you got the pastors, you know, none of them are listening. And here's the result of what you follow. And I have, some years I did some video about slavery in heaven. You could watch that. That also was a wonderful video that I did. Until next time, light and peace, brothers and sisters. Bye bye now.